We are live. It is Friday. Good evening, every pony. I'm Golden Microphone, and you are listening to Oatstralia on Air Live. This is FanFiction Fridays. What a week. What a week in Oatstralia weather. Can you believe this? Let's see. Flooding rains, massive winds, drought, not to mention all the fire all around. But a lot of us have gotten out okay. There aren't any howling winds at my windows anymore, which is good. I can stretch my wings again. Very nice. And no smatterings of rain or anything like that. I hope everyone else out there is quite fine and doing okay. For all of those who have, in fact, lost their homes to all of this week's weather and, well, living here, well, my heart goes out to them. It really does. Not exactly a laughing matter, losing one's home. But that's not why we're here, is it? Our condolences, but the show must roll on. Welcome once more to FanFiction Fridays. I am Golden Microphone, and I am joined by Pegasus, and Announcer Voice, and tonight all of us have some stories to tell. Let's see. From what I remember, someone posted up a story that Pegasus was meant to read. However, I seem to have lost it. If anyone remembers what that story was, or something to do with Celestia, it was a YouTube video for some reason. Please post it into the chat and we'll be able to get straight onto that. Tonight, however, we have a special announcement that, well, we'll be getting to a little bit later into the show, as well as some wonderful continuations. My Little Avenger goes to Chapter 5, and Octavia Takes the Bus keeps on rolling on with its amazing feels. Also, Announcer Voice gets to continue on with his series, Harpflank and Sweets, which has reached its second season at the moment and into its second episode. I'm sure that he'll be very happy to regale the tales of the two incredible heroes known as Harpflank and Sweets. For now, let's get ourselves comfortable down by the fireside, whilst we take a leaf out of our old books and continue on with My Little Avengers. Chapter 5. I'll post that into the chat. There we go. For those of you who wish to read on, this is Chapter 5. The story so far is that Celestia and Luna have put out a welcome invitation to the new alicorn in town, Thor, who in reality is Big Mac, who recently discovered a walking staff in a cave whilst he was on a hike on his birthday. Some strange things have been going on, but now Big Mac can very nearly control the most basic powers of Thor, one of the old gods. Strangely enough, Pinkie Pie is able to help him out because she is a great descendant of the great Loki himself. Speaking of, Trixie appears to have become a servant to Loki, who was also awakened at around the same time. Things are about to get very interesting as Big Mac has just come from fighting off his first supervillain. Chapter 5. What do you mean you're not going? Pinkie whined. She and Big Mac were in the kitchen of Sugar Cube Corner, busily baking various pies. Applejack had been overjoyed to discover Big Mac had actually made a real friend, rather than another friendly acquaintance, so she hadn't complained about letting her big brother come help Pinkie with the daily baking. It wasn't like there was a whole lot to do on the farm today, and Big Mac worked too hard as it was. I just don't see why I should, Big Mac said with a shrug as he rolled out some dough. Skipping a few hours' work to visit you is one thing, but I'd have to miss a whole day to go to the princess's party. I can't do that to Applejack. Besides, how could I explain why I needed to leave? Pinky gave a snort of frustration and pointed a flour-covered hoof at the newspaper she'd left on a nearby clean portion of the countertop. But Mac, look at the paper! Party in honor of Ponyville's savior Thor. How can they have a party without the guest of honor? Pinky, it's too risky, Big Mac said, not looking at her. Pinky's puppy dog eyes could sway armies. Besides, I don't even like fancy parties. The ones you throw are one thing, but from what AJ told me about the gala, I wouldn't last 5 seconds at one of them fancy celebrations. Pinky was about to reply when the kitchen door burst open in a rainbow blur. It resolved into Rainbow Dash, looking rather excited and frantic. Pinky! She shouted before noticing that Pinky had company. Oh, hey, Big Mac. Pinky! Have you seen Twilight anywhere? She's not at the library. I think she's at Rarity's, getting ready for the big party in Canterlot. Pinky chirped. Why? Something wrong, Dashy? Dash shook her head rapidly. No, I just need to get a ticket to that party. I figure if I ask Twilight, she can get one from the princess. Yeah, I don't need a ticket, Big Mac spoke up, not looking up from the pie crust he was making. The paper said every pony's invited. Y'all can just go. Really? Awesome! Dash did a miniature loop-the-loop in the air, grinning broadly. This is going to be the coolest party ever! Pinky smiled at Dash, happy that she was happy. Are the Wonderbolts going to be there, Dashy? Huh? Dash paused her aerial acrobatics for one moment. Oh yeah, them too! Almost forgot about them! Pinky and Big Mac glanced at each other in surprise. If you don't care about the Wonderbolts, Pinky said, the words sounding strange to her ears, then why do you want to go so bad? Isn't it obvious? Thor! Dash exclaimed with an enthusiasm normally reserved solely for the Wonderbolts. He's like the coolest pony ever! He totally saved my life, you know. Big Max felt slightly disturbed at how pleased this seemed to make her. I never even got the chance to thank him. He must think I'm a wuss the way that loser Deadweight tossed me around. Next time I see him, I'm going to show him what I'm really made of. Pinky cheered for her friend, but Big Mac frowned. What if Thor don't show? The farm pony asked slowly. Dash looked at him as though he was crazy. Of course he's going to show. It's his party. What kind of hero wouldn't show up for his own party? That'd be like the Wonderbolts skipping a show. Dash frowned. A real hero wouldn't insult his fans like that. Pinky grinned at Big Mac. Mac doubted she even had the capacity to be smug, but if she did, that grin would have been very, very smug. I guess you're right, Dash. Course I'm right. Oh, I gotta go practice my tricks so I can show off to Thor. Later! Dash flew from the room so fast, Mac barely saw her leave. See, Mac, Pinky said, you gotta go, or Dash will be sad, and so will every pony else who wants to meet you. You don't want to make every pony sad, do you? Mac finally gave up. Oh, all right. But y'all gotta help me convince Applejack, all right? I can't lie to her. Okie dokie dokie. As it happened, convincing Applejack was unnecessary. She and the rest of her friends, Twilight, Rarity, Rainbow Dash, and Fluttershy, were all going to the party together. Pinkie Pie was all too happy to join them, of course. With Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle both spending the night at Scootaloo's parents' house, it would be a simple matter to fly to Canterlot unnoticed. With Thor's speed, he'd reach the castle in record time. Pinkie was sad that she wouldn't get to go to the party with her newest friend, but Big Mac assured her he'd be fine. He made sure not to betray his own nervousness as he reassured the filly. Nevertheless, Pinkie seemed to pick up on his nervousness and baked him some chocolate chip cookies to ease his tension. A week passed fairly lazily, and the day of the party arrived. Big Mac helped Applejack into the dress the dress had been made for her to help her avoid the embarrassment of asking Rarity for help. The elegant garment was similar to the one Applejack had worn to the gala, but she'd been unable to prevent Rarity from adding frills, ruffles, and other fancy additions until the outfit was almost too frou-frou for Applejack to even look at, much less wear. Rarity had insisted that a party celebrating the arrival of new royalty, for what could an alicorn be but a royal prince, was much fancier than that silly old gala, and thus a much fancier dress was required. "I'm sorry y'all can't come, Sugar Cube," Applejack commented as they finally finished struggling with the complicated piece of clothing. "I know how highly y'all think of Thor, but some pony needs to look after the farm." "I know, Applejack," Big Mac said, forcing himself to seem nonchalant and hoping his sister didn't pick up on his nerves. "I don't really want to go anyhow." Technically true. "Probably gonna be awful boring, just like that gala y'all went with your friends." Applejack chuckled. "Gosh, I hope not. With any luck, this party will end a lot more calmly." She checked herself in the nearby mirror. "Well, looks like I'm all ready. I better go meet the girls. We're riding to Canterlot together. See y'all later, Sugar Cube." Applejack gave her brother a hug before galloping out of the house. Big Mac sighed, fetching Mjolnir out of its hiding place in his saddlebags. "Might be a bit sooner than you think, sis." Big Mac's primary worry was formal attire, but it seemed Mjolnir had that covered. Upon his transformation into Thor, the magic hammer seemed to sense Big Mac's desire for clothing and showed off another of its many tricks. When the glow of his transformation faded, he was clothed in what his borrowed memories informed him was Thor's old armor, a glorious silver breastplate with a beautiful cape of red silk. The cape was dashing, though Big Mac thought it too impractical for a fight. He liked the armor, though. He'd keep that. His memories also informed him of a matching hat, but Big Mac elected not to wear it. It looked ridiculous, and he wanted to make a good impression. Thor's godly speed carried him to Canterlot quickly, making the normally hours-long trip into 15 minutes, 20 at most. The armor was so light he barely felt it, and the cape cut through the air with much less difficulty than he'd anticipated. He slowed as he approached the Canterlot Castle, gliding in gently for a landing near the majestic building's gates. The guards leapt to attention at his arrival and saluted furiously. Big Mac felt uncomfortable at the attention, but as Thor, he merely inclined his head in polite acknowledgement as he passed through the gates. The entrance hall was crowded with ponies, all chatting amicably, but the conversation died abruptly at his arrival. Every pony turned to gawk at the new arrival, and quiet whispers filled the room. Big Mac could only imagine what they were thinking. If it wasn't for the fact that he was Thor, Thor's arrival would throw him into confusion as well. Even so, the stares of every pony on him made him feel quite uncomfortable, and it took a great deal of willpower not to squirm. Forcing himself not to be hesitant, Thor stepped into the room, head held high. The princess stood at the head of the stairs near the back of the room. On her right stood her sister, Princess Luna, quite looking nervous as Celestia leaned over and whispered to her. Thor's godly senses were sharp, but even he couldn't hear what the princess said to her sister. He wondered what they thought of him. "He's cute, isn't he?" Celestia whispered to her sister. Luna blushed slightly. "Princesses should not entertain such thoughts about their subjects." "Oh, this princess does," Celestia retorted, "and he's hardly a subject. He's an alicorn, like us. Still, it is unbecoming of a princess, or any lady, to admit to such open admiration." Celestia chuckled at her sister. "Oh, come on. You think he's got a nice flank too." "I do not!" Luna protested, her blush growing more pronounced. I would never entertain such vulgar thoughts." "Oh, really?" Celestia teased. "So it's fine with you if I seduce him for myself?" "Don't you dare!" Luna snapped, losing her composure for a moment. She recovered quickly. I mean, such behavior from a princess would be quite improper." Celestia grinned from ear to ear. "Oh, come on, Lulu. At least admit he's cute." Luna blushed prominently and refused to look at her sister. "He's handsome, I suppose." "There you go," Celestia said cheerfully. There was a pause. Then, If I can't have him for myself, maybe we could share... No! Rather than making a direct beeline for the princesses, Thor scanned the room for a particular pony. Her mane was impossible to miss, and he headed directly towards her. Art thou Rainbow Dash? Thor asked the Pegasus filly. It took Rainbow Dash several moments to control her excitement enough to answer. Yes, that's me, Rainbow Dash. Thanks for saving me. You know that thing with the wrecker last week? Was she actually blushing? Big Mac didn't think he'd ever seen Dash blush before. Indeed, I recall the incident, Thor said calmly. Thou should be proud. The wrecker's speed nearly matched my own. Few mortals would have lasted quite so long against him alone. You have a special gift, a talent for flying few Pegasi possess. Be proud of it, hone it well, and cherish it always. I shall follow your career with great interest. Leaving the ecstatic blue filly endlessly chanting, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh," in his wake, Thor continued on towards Princess Celestia. He climbed the stairs towards her, stopping several steps below her. He bowed his head in low greeting, causing a wave of mutters through the crowd. Greetings, Princess Celestia and Princess Luna, rulers of all Equestria, goddesses of the sun and moon. Big Mac made the most of Thor's deep, booming voice, his greeting echoing throughout the room. I am Thor, Thor Odinson of Asgard, god of thunder. I was honored to receive your invitation. Celestia smiled brightly and dipped her head in response. Her voice was soft, but could be heard in all corners of the room. Greetings, Thor. My sister and I are glad you could come. Luna, for her part, said nothing and looked vaguely embarrassed and uncomfortable. Big Mac shared her pain. Greeting the princess herself was one thing, but exchanging pleasantries like an equal? If not for Thor's boundless confidence, Big Mac would have flown away as fast as his godly speed would have carried him. When such a grand party is thrown in my honor, how could I refuse? Big Mac said, thankful that he could keep his tone casual. Thor was not intimidated by royalty. We have much to discuss. Of course. Please, come with me. Celestia led the way through a pair of double doors behind her, Big Mac and Luna following behind. They traveled down a short hallway before entering what appeared to be a small, comfortable study. The room contained several lounging couches, each large enough for an alicorn, arranged in a small circle. The princesses sat next to each other, while Big Mac sat across from them. Now then, the elder princess said, once they were all seated comfortably, there are many things I want to ask you, but I think this is the most important. Who or what is Loki? Big Mac swallowed, and drew upon both what Pinky had told him and what he could glean from Thor's memories. Loki is an alicorn, like we three. He, like myself, is a citizen of the fallen city of Asgard, home of the gods. The princesses shared an excited look at this clue to their origins. He is largely responsible for the fall of Asgard and the death of all its inhabitants, excluding we two. Now the princesses looked troubled, and Celestia in particular looked vaguely sick at the thought of such genocide. He is a trickster and a master of magic, primarily enchantment and transformation. He is devious and ingenious, and I believe he will stop at nothing short of complete domination of Equestria. Big Mac took a deep breath, surprised to hear even Thor's voice was shaking. When he looked at the memories of what Loki had done, his stomach turned unpleasantly, and he felt, and shared, Thor's anger towards his ancient enemy. Shamefully, he is also my foster brother. My father Odin saw fit to take pity upon him as a child and adopt him. But he is no brother to me. What was once harmless, childish pranks has grown to malevolence I had never believed a pony could possess. He hates all ponies for having the happiness he's never experienced, and me in particular for being a symbol of everything he never had. He hungers for power. He is ruthless in obtaining it.
And young heavyweight, Celestia asked, what purpose did he serve?
I do not know, Big Mac admitted. The mark on the wrecker's brow was quite distinctive, as was the trap laid within the enchantment. It was most definitely the work of Loki, but for what purpose I cannot divine.
Big Mac was vaguely startled as Luna spoke for the first time. How can we be certain what you say is true? Luna asked, her face carefully neutral. Gone was the embarrassed young filly who had blushed as he approached. This mare was hard and calculating. The transformation was startling, to say the least. How can we be certain that this Loki is truly as evil as you say, and not merely a personal rival?
Luna!
Celestia admonished. Don't be rude to our guest.
No, your sister is correct, Big Mac admitted. In reply I say only this. The spell that nearly took the life of thine student was designed to destroy a pony from the inside out, to destroy their magic from within. Ask thyself, what sort of pony would craft such a spell?
Silence reigned in the room. Princess Celestia was about to reply when there were sounds of a scuffle from outside the room. Suddenly the door flew open and in burst a very distressed Pinkie Pie, followed by two guards with apologetic looks on their faces.
We're very sorry, your highnesses, one of the guards said, sounding embarrassed. We tried to stop her, but...
Pinkie didn't let the guard finish, running up to Big Mac.
Thor, I had that twitch again. Something's coming, and it's big!
Big Mac shot to his feet. Princess, we must evacuate the castle immediately, he said, trying hard not to make it sound like an order. Ordering around the princess was never a good idea. Thankfully, Celestia and her sister were not keen to enforce protocol at the moment. You know Miss Pie? She asked, somewhat surprised. Luna was already calling for their butler.
Aye, she's the one who warned me of the wrecker's arrival, Big Mac confirmed, looking anxious. She can detect when Loki begins to act, and I trust her intuition.
Celestia nodded, apparently content to trust one of the elements of harmony. She turned to Proper Etiquette, who had just arrived in the doorway. Inform every pony attending the party that we will be ending early due to an emergency. Apologize profusely, but ensure that they leave the castle quickly.
At once, your majesty,
Etiquette replied, vanishing at a speed only a true butler could attain. Big Mac turned to Pinkie.
Do you know where?
The front hall! Hurry! Thor and the princesses burst into the front hall just in time to see a bright sphere of green magic materialize in its center. There was a bright flash, and suddenly there was a blue unicorn filly standing on a raised platform that hadn't been there before. She wore a dark blue cape and hat with stars dotting the nearly black expanse. What caught Thor's attention most, however, was the twisting mark of the snake on her forehead, just below her horn.
Attention, Canterlot!
The unicorn spoke, her voice magically enhanced to boom throughout the room, over the confused and frightened mutterings of the partygoers.
I am the great and powerful Trixie, the most powerful unicorn in all Equestria, and the personal apprentice of Loki the Magnificent, the rightful ruler of Equestria. I have come here today to claim the throne in his name and to accept the unconditional surrender of the princesses. We require not only the throne and rulership of all Equestria, but the head of Loki's hated enemy, Thor. Should you not comply, the lives of every pony in Canterlot will be forfeit.
Celestia stepped forward, Luna and Thor a single step behind her. We will not bow to the threats of cowards and bullies, Celestia said calmly, her voice echoing throughout the hall. Her face was one of the supreme calm one only showed when one was angered beyond what one's face could express. Leave now, and tell your master we will expect his unconditional surrender within the week. Otherwise, we will consider him and you enemies of Equestria. Trixie laughed arrogantly, and Thor felt something was very off. When Trixie had last visited Ponyville, her magical talents had been average at best. But now, he could clearly feel Loki's magic rolling off her in waves of malevolent intent.
A glance around the room told him that many unicorns in attendance had felt it as well, including Twilight Sparkle. Thor had to hide a relieved smile as he saw Twilight quietly evacuate several ponies, including Applejack and Pinkie Pie. He redirected his attention to Trixie as the unicorn spoke again. You foals are naught but dim shadows of my master Loki's power. Surrender now and I may have mercy. The horn lit up with a sickly green glow. No promises, though. Much to Thor's surprise, Princess Celestia spread her wings and leapt at Trixie, her own horn glowing with golden radiance. Clearly she didn't take well to threats against her subjects. Trixie smirked, and an oddly familiar spell formed on her horn before launching at the charging princess, a bolt of twisting green energy. With a sickening feeling in his stomach, Thor cried a warning. Princess, look out! He leapt into the air to protect her, but he was too late. The insidious spell that had nearly killed Twilight Sparkle a week ago struck the princess square on the horn, knocking her backwards into the wall. She collapsed to the ground with a sickening thud, her horn glowing a dull green. She did not get up. Sister! Luna cried, rushing to the elder princess's side. Celestia could only groan in response, her rainbow mane ceasing its flowing, dimming to a dull pink as it fell in messy tendrils around her. If looks could kill, Thor's glare would have smeared Trixie across the floor, though he was quite prepared to use his hammer for that purpose instead. You monster! He growled. Thou shalt die 1,000 deaths for daring to use such a wicked spell against another pony, and 1,000 more for having the arrogance to harm our monarch! His own mane began to glow with electric power, beginning to drift like a golden storm cloud. Trixie laughed, her horn glowing again. Sorry, but the great and powerful Trixie has business elsewhere. Oh, but don't think Trixie is leaving you all alone. She has brought one of her master's closest friends to play with you. Thor, losing all patience, lunged at Trixie, but he was too late. Ta-ta! She called as she vanished into a haze of green. The hall was deathly quiet, as many ponies who had yet to evacuate looked around in shock, confusion, and fear. Now what? All too soon, however, the silence was replaced with a low rumbling that steadily grew louder. The floor in the center of the hall began to crack, and ponies near that section began to panic and ran for the exit. What seemed to be a green spine poked through the floor, then pushed upwards, revealing a head, a neck, then the body of a fully grown, dark green dragon. Its arms punched through the floor as it forced its way upward, climbing laboriously out of the hole it made. It roared so loud the ceiling began to crumble, and its words found their way into the mind of every pony for 20 miles, broadcast with a telepathic intensity so forceful it was almost painful. I am the first and last of all dragons. I was here when Equestria was born, and I will be here to see it die. I am the greatest of all creatures to walk the earth, and I have come at the behest of my greatest ally, Loki of Asgard. My name is Fin Fang Foom. I bring your destruction. That is the end of Chapter 5 of My Little Avenger, ending on a goddamn cliffhanger. Ah! The last of the dragons makes his appearance as Celestia is rendered powerless against the great and powerful Trixie. Enhanced with Loki's magic, she's near unstoppable. What happens next? Find out next week. Oh boy. I certainly hope you're all enjoying this. I am. I most definitely am. Whoo-wee. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. Okay. Let's calm down a little bit. Let's calm down a little bit and get ourselves a little bit of music. I'm going to take a quick break. Be right back. We'll be right back very soon. Just so you know, we're going to, from now until PonyCon AU in April, we will be playing pretty much nothing but the musicians that have been, well, that have been put onto the set lists, music, for all of you to hear. Tonight, we will begin with a little bit of Koroshi-Ya, who I believe is in the audience right now. Let's see, what can we embarrass him with tonight? Ah, here's one. Not sure if it's actually in the set list that he's going to be having at PonyCon AU, but here's one, just for the fun of it. Giggle at the Ghosties remix on Australia on Air Live. This is FanFiction Fridays. I'm Gold Microphone.
What are you doing? Run! Oh, girls, don't you see?
With that, we are back. That was Giggle at the Ghosties remix by Koroshi-Ya. Tonight we will be paying tribute to Koroshi for his part in PonyCon AU as one of the magnificent musicians. Next week, well, if you guys have a look at the PonyCon set list, why don't you tell me? Who should we pay tribute to next week? Or even on any of the other shows, tell our hosts. Tell Bloodlust, tell Metal Bernie, tell Koroshi-Ya yourself if you like, who we should pay tribute to on any of our shows. Just check it out. There's the link, ponyconau.com/guests. These are all of our musicians that are in the concerts on both days. How fantastic is that? We've got Eevee Dog, we've got Feather, we've got Glitch Hog, Purple Fridge, Ponova, Mysterious Brony, Pinky Guy, Replacer. My God, these guys are fantastic. They're huge names. They're brilliant musicians. Who else? Natasha Bukovest, who, by the way, brilliant voice. Wonderful. I've had to listen to it myself. We may have to have a listen to it just out after the show, I think. Chris McKenna are also there as well. And of course, Oliver. Ha 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 ha. Sorry. Cherek's Destructor, Koroshi-Ya himself, Core W, and Meals. All of these fantastic names, brilliant people, brilliant musicians, all of them. Show your support to all of them. Subscribe to all of their YouTubes, which, you know what? Just for this video, I'm going to put all of these musicians' YouTube's links into the description below for all of you YouTubers later. Right now, though, I think we're going to get ourselves into the next story, which is going to be Octavia Takes the Bus. Okay, let's get into this. I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the chat, and obviously for you YouTubers at home, go right ahead and have a look in the description. Okay, let's have ourselves a look. Here we are then. Octavia Takes the Bus. Saturday practice, Sunday rest. Saturdays were always the same for Octavia. They never changed. She sat on her couch, bow in hoof, mane unkempt, and cello against her knees. Practice notes filled the air and only stopped when the strings needed adjusting. The door was firmly locked, and every window was shut so the cellist could concentrate exclusively on her playing. It was not uncommon for her to skip meals until the late, black hours of the night, and then binge on whatever was left of the week's provisions inside her bachelorette refrigerator before bed. Playing at the concert was now the rule, even after the earth-shattering news of her former group's betrayal. No pony would convince her she couldn't. She worked too hard on her song to let it drift from the charcoal-smudged pages into the air of forgotten memory. Besides, who would show up to see a quartet of 3 ponies? There was no excuse in the world not to present her creation in front of an audience hungry for genius, thirsting for brilliance, and desperate for direction. She would feed. She would quench. She would play. But now, she needed to practice. Just as Octavia was about to hit the first note for the 1000th time that day, she heard a knock coming from the front door. That's odd. I don't remember inviting any pony to my apartment on a Saturday. She opened the door. It was Susie Tuber. Susie, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm sorry for interrupting you, Octavia, she replied, looking rather ashamed. I was just wondering if maybe we could talk for a little bit. I mean, if that's okay with you. Sure. Come inside. Octavia led her nervous guest to the couch where she took her seat right next to the cello. She stared at it, mesmerized at the crafted beauty of wood and string. She wouldn't take her eyes off of it, which Octavia found to be a tad disconcerting. In fact, this whole scene she found to be a bit odd. Even so, she never forgot her manners or common hospitality. Would you like something to drink, Susie? Oh, no thank you, I'm fine. I just wanted to ask you, I mean, talk to you about something. Octavia nodded. She took her cello and placed it against the wall, noticing Susie following it with her eyes. She took a seat on the couch, awaiting Susie's words with clasped hooves. Octavia, I just wanted you to know if you would ever reconsider coming back to the sunshine. I mean, the quartet again. Susie, I mean, I know you left us and everything, but if you ever decided you want to come back, you know we would accept you back with open hooves, right? Octavia rolled her eyes. You aren't serious, are you? Susie just sighed, defeated. Look, Susie, if Frederick sent you here to try to convince me with your pleading eyes to rejoin the Sunshine Quartet, well, you can tell him that he failed miserably. The cellist got up from the couch and made her way to the door with intentions of escorting her guest out. How dare that bastard Frederick send poor Susie Tuber undercover to do his evil bidding? Here she was shaking like an autumn leaf, and he most likely sat somewhere with his hooves up to his eyes, grinning as his imagination carried out the discourse for him. Octavia was just about to open the door to her apartment when she felt Susie's hoof cover her own. "No, please, Octavia. I came on my own, not because of Frederick. And believe me when I tell you that I find him just as stupid as you do." Octavia turned. "Really?" she responded, shocked. Susie took her hoof off of the knob, cowering. "Well, yes. I mean, I don't hate him, but I think he can be a jerk sometimes." "I do hate him," Octavia replied. Looking back at Susie, the cellist's expression softened. Susie was a very meek soul, akin to a doormat where every pony brushed their dirt and filth and left her to crust. Frederick was particularly the one who took advantage of her the most, evidenced by the self-righteous complaints of the sousaphone's player's performance he would carelessly toss in the air. "The horn is coming in too strong. It rattles my eardrums. If I were a blind pony, I'd say we invited a wee little mouse to play Susie's part. I feel personally that the horn shouldn't come in at this part, or in at any part for that matter. It's simply too peculiar a sound to accompany the strings and piano. Perhaps we should exclude it altogether." Octavia felt a rush of relief relax her tense muscles after that comment. "Let's sit back on the couch and talk some more, shall we?" Octavia offered. It began to drizzle outside, but the mares sat comfortably on the couch, each holding a mug of hot tea. This was the first time Octavia had any guests over at her apartment, but she enjoyed it. "Perhaps this is more of what I need. Socializing. That's what it's called, no? I hope the tea is to your liking, Susie." "Oh, it's delicious. Thanks." Susie put a drink down on the table and held her chest tightly, diverting her eyes away from her hostess. She took a deep sigh and looked up into the cellist's eyes. "Octavia, I know you want to have your own career and stuff, and that's great. I'm very happy for you. You can make whatever decision you want. But I think that if you leave, things just won't be the same. In fact, they might get worse. I can't stand to see you go like that. It hurts so much to just see you walk out the door like it was nothing. I felt like my heart broke or something. I don't want you to leave. I want you to stay. You're the reason I've improved so much. I would hardly think I bear all the credit for your improvement, Susie," said Octavia. "You've practiced about as hard as anyone else in the group, and betterment is the natural result. No, you don't understand, Octavia." Octavia didn't understand. She didn't understand why Susie attributed all her success as a competent sousaphone player in one pony. She didn't understand why she appeared so needy of her being there at the practice sessions. She didn't understand why Susie begged her so much. "Please, enlighten me." Susie took a deep breath. "I love you, Octavia." "What?" "I mean, I love what you do, Octavia. The way you play and the way you carry yourself with every pony. You're so full of grace and beauty. I can't stand it. I don't know any pony quite like you. You're so special. And I'm not." She couldn't mean that, could she? Does she really love me? This is all so bizarre. I'm so sorry. Everything came out so wrong. I'm sorry. Susie, you know what? I'm sorry I wasted your time. I'm so mixed up right now, and I think I should just go." Susie stood up to leave, but not before Octavia stood in the way. "Susie, wait." Susie just stood there, mouth closed, eyes open. "Look, Susie, I don't love you." Susie bowed her head, mouth open, eyes closed. "I mean, it's not that I hate you or find you despising." "Then what?" Susie asked. "I'm not in any position to be looking for that sort of relationship right now, and I don't see myself having one anytime soon." "What makes you think I wanted one?" asked Susie, raising her voice a little. "Susie." Susie turned her head away. The tension was too much.
I'm sorry if I took your comments out of context. It was an honest mistake, but please understand that I am finding all of this a little confusing at the moment. My mind hasn't processed everything yet. Is that all you do, Octavia? Said Susie. Process things with your mind? What are you implying? I mean, do you ever stop to feel for once? Do you listen to your gut feeling or follow your heart at all? Or are you some kind of heartless robot who plays cello all day? I'd like to think that I convey a lot of heart when I perform on my cello. So no, I do not think I should be likened to a heartless robot. Heartless robot. Hard-working, yes, without a doubt. But heartless? Susie didn't respond. Susie, don't you think you're being a little dramatic about all this? Susie scoffed. Dramatic? Since when does some ponies share their true feelings mean dramatic? Well, I mean, wait, you weren't lying? Now I'm a liar! Didn't you just say before that you didn't mean it when you said you loved me? Now you're going back on your word? I'm so lost right now. This is quite ridiculous. Susie pushed Octavia away and shot her a disgusted look. What do you mean, ridiculous? Are you saying I'm ridiculous? I'm talking about me calling you a robot. But now I see that maybe you are one, since you don't even know how to carry a normal conversation. Susie brushed past Octavia and headed for the door, but not before Octavia slid her hoof over the knob. Wait. Just let me go. I don't want to see you anymore. Not until you tell me what's going on here. There's nothing left to say, Susie stated. Of course there is. There's a lot left to say. Well, I don't feel like saying it, okay? Just let me go. Susie tried to move Octavia's hoof off the doorknob, but the grip was too strong for the feeble sousaphone player. Are you going to let me go or what? Not until you explain to me what is really going on with you. Dear Celestia, you're starting to get really annoying. Susie huffed. Do you want me to scream for help or something? To your heart's desire, if you want. But I will not let you go until we get this matter settled, Octavia replied, in a sort of schoolteacher manner. There is no matter to settle. You already said what you wanted to say, so now let me go home. What did I say? Stop it! Susie grabbed the knob with both hooves this time, successfully removing Octavia's firm grip. As soon as she stepped out of the apartment, Octavia wrapped her hooves around Susie's petite body. Susie, please, you've got to understand. Are you mad? Let me go. Not until you tell me how you really feel. I hate you. That's a lie. Now tell me the truth, the honest truth. I want to go home. Susie started to cry. Do you love me or not? Leave me alone. Tell me. Tell me right now, damn it. I want the truth. I need the truth. Do you love me? Yes or no? Yes! Octavia's embrace began to loosen at the sound of that word. Susie managed to break free from her brief imprisonment, and then met her captor with a firm hoof to the face. The sound as rock meeting cold floor. I hope you rot in hell, Octavia! I never want to see you again! Susie turned and started down the flight of stairs. Octavia pursued the quartet member as a small colt chases a paper boat down a rushing rapid. Stop! Susie screamed. Octavia obeyed as she saw Susie's hoof suspended in the pouring rain. Susie. Go back inside, Octavia, she said without turning. You might rust. Susie left, disappearing into the hazy rain. Octavia, with her mane matted and messy, tried to find words to repair what had been severed, but she couldn't. Her mind was failing her at a moment when she needed it most. She had nothing. Octavia closed the door to her apartment behind her, resting her back on its cold face. She stood there for several minutes in complete silence. Her eyes didn't move. Her lips didn't quiver. Her ears picked up no sound. She looked over at her cello, but any desire she had before was beaten out of her like sand out of a punching bag. She looked at the 2 mugs of hot tea that sat on the table. One was empty, the other barely touched. She did say she wasn't thirsty, Octavia said, breaking the silence.
She grabbed the 2 mugs and carried them to the kitchen sink. She tried squeezing out a little soap onto a sponge from an empty bottle, which proved to be useless. She threw the bottle across the kitchen into the living room, where it collided with a cello, creating a jumbled sound. Her face crumpled into a scowl as she let out a scream. It's such a strange feeling, when all your life you've always had something to do for every minute of it, only to find yourself with nothing important to focus on. Sundays were always the same for Octavia. They never changed. Until today. The restless cellist lay on her stomach, eyeing the digital alarm clock that sat on her dresser. 5:30. The blue of the dawn seeped into the room and sprawled all over the floor, reflecting off of a mug lying on its side, where Octavia's hoof dangled from the bed, empty. She got up from the bed and walked into the restroom and stared into the mirror. Suddenly, the phone rang. She peeked at the caller ID. Restricted. Octavia picked up the receiver and slowly held it up to her face. Hello? Octavia, this is your mother. I need to talk to you about an important matter. Okay. Isn't this a little early, though? I am inviting you to have brunch with me at the house no later than 11:30. I've arranged for Bailey to pick you up promptly at 11. Please be ready by then. Mother. Octavia's mother hung up the phone. The tired cellist put the phone back onto the dock and let herself fall onto the couch, running her hooves over her eyes, the memories of last night still fresh in her mind. 11:30. Good morning, Miss Octavia. It is a delight to see you again. Octavia smiled at the sound of the cheeriness of the chauffeur's greeting. She sat in the seat of the luxurious limo and buckled her seatbelt. With a smile and a wink, Bailey shut the door and scurried his way around the limo to the driver's seat. As he started up the machine, Octavia rolled her window down and placed a leg out of it. Oh, I would suggest you keep the window shut, Miss Octavia. The forecast calls for another heavy downpour this afternoon. Thank you, Bailey, Octavia replied, rolling her window back up. The seasoned driver pulled the limo out of the parking lot and into the cloudy streets of Canterlot, eyeing all the mirrors at timed intervals. Octavia never forgot how he ensured the little filly was buckled nice and tight after every practice. He had a gentle voice that rasped at the end of every sentence, and a wrinkly smile that never faded. But what pleased her most about her faithful driver was his right ear. It was always bent down at the middle so that it resembled a withering plant. He would always remind his tiny observant passenger that it was so that he could listen to every word she had to share. And that was true. He was a fantastic listener. I take it your mother has something important to tell you, Miss Octavia. Octavia jerked her head. I'm sorry? I said, it seems that your mother has something she wants to talk to you about, am I right? I suppose. She called me very early this morning, seemingly out of the blue. Well, said Bailey in a loud whisper, if you want to know the truth, your mother has been up all night. She hasn't slept for a minute, I don't think. I presume whatever it was that gave her the jumps last night might have something to do with you. Perhaps, Octavia replied. She looked at herself in the chauffeur's rearview mirror. She looked so small. I would also imagine, Bailey continued, that she has something to share with you about your father. Octavia jerked once again. My father? Has something happened to him? Please, Bailey, do you know anything about him? You'll have to forgive me, Miss Octavia, but I was strictly informed upon possible termination that I'm not to share any details with you before you spoke with your mother. Octavia took a deep breath, tapping her hoof on the part of the car where the window rolled in. She twitched at the thought of what the old driver had heard or possibly seen, but then relaxed in the honesty of one of the few ponies she admired. How long had he been the family driver? I hope you understand, Miss Octavia, Bailey said, looking at her through his rear view. She nodded. She looked out the window and noticed that they had arrived. Octavia could feel her heart sink deep inside her chest as the golden gates opened wide for the limo to stroll through. Oh dear. Sorry about that. Bailey dutifully hopped out of the car and made his way to where Octavia sat. As he reached for the door handle to let his passenger out, the door opened on its own, taking him slightly aback. As she stepped out and closed the door behind her, she was met with a raised brow and that signature smile. "You've grown up quite a lot since I last saw you," he said. The old chauffeur got back into the limo and pulled out of the driveway, probably to run one of the many errands Octavia's mother often sent him on. When she was sure he had disappeared for the day, she turned around and faced her former home. The large statues of griffins that frightened the filly long ago looked as menacing as when they as when they went as high as the heavens they descended from. Their weathered teeth and crackling skin sent chills down her spine. Walking past them felt like an inventory was being taken far past due. "Oh, Mademoiselle Octavia! It is such a joy to see you again!" cried the head chef, Crepes. "Thank you. It is good to see you too," she grinned. "Why, I remember when you were just a petite girl. Oh, you were so cute and very polite." Octavia blushed at the passionate chef's compliments. What a reversal of roles! "Well, let us not keep your mother waiting, right? Please, follow moi." Octavia followed the bouncing, bubbly chef closely down a long hall. As they got closer to the dining room, the cellist looked up at the walls of the elaborate mansion. Paintings of countrysides, busy cityscapes, and autumn seasons still peered down at whoever walked down the halls. Paintings that decorated much of her childhood with pleasant memories of trips to the art museum with her father, and hanging them on the walls when a mutual favourite was discovered. Her favourite? A seagull soaring through a marine sunset, its body blackened by the sun. "So, where is Crumpet?" asked Octavia. The cheery chef scratched his head. "Well, it appears he has been sent by the madame to perform some duties, and that is why I came to get you at the door and bring you to the table." "Oh, well, where was he sent?" "I wish I knew, Mademoiselle Octavia, but you must forgive me," he said, twirling his hooves in the air as if freshly powdered dough were being crafted into another masterpiece. "I have to the cannelle and the croissant cavorting in le cerveau. I do not know very much things." Octavia stifled a playful giggle. "He hasn't changed at all. Just like a lot of things around here." When they reached the dining room, Crepes putted to one side of the long table to pull out a seat for Octavia. Much to his shock, she had already found a seat for herself, which was pulled out and rested, all on her own. As if splashed with a pot of boiling water, the chef shook his head and shuffled quickly to the side of his young guest. "Mademoiselle Octavia, I think it would be best if you sit over there," he said, pointing across the table. "Oh, don't worry about being formal with me," she replied. "I'm perfectly fine where I am." "No, you don't understand. You need to sit on the other chair, the one I pulled out for moi petite belle." "You're such a flatterer, Crepes." Octavia stood to her hooves. "Well, if it makes you feel better, then I will change my seat and let you pull it out for me. Sound good?" "I believe it is a... Oh dear. I believe it is a wise choice," said a deep voice from behind. Both Octavia and Crepes turned. "Mother!" "Crepes, get our brunch immediately," she said flatly. "Oui, madame," he said, skittering away to the kitchen. "Take your seat, Octavia. We have much to discuss." "Yes, ma'am," she replied, setting her rump on the chair slowly. The tall, dark mare took her seat and sat straight as a flagpole. Octavia sat slouching forward, hooves brought up to her face as if she were praying. "Sit straight, Octavia, and put your hooves on your lap and off the table." Octavia obeyed, eyeing her mother with every movement. "Now then, on to the topic at hoof. You're standing with the quartet. How does she know about that? You will honour your commitments and rejoin the Sunshine Quartet effective tomorrow." "But I..." Crepes waddled into the dining room and set a silver tray in the middle of the table. "Here they are, Madame and Mademoiselle Octavia. he said, lifting the cover off the tray and placing a plate of salad and a cup of iced tea for each mare. Bon appetit. You may retire now, Crepes. We do not require your services at the moment. Oui, madame, he replied, sputtering out of the dining room. Thank you, Crepes, Octavia yelled before picking up a fork to pick at a salad. Now then, said Octavia's mother, ignoring her daughter's grateful comment. About you returning to the quartet. I will not have a quitter as a daughter. You know better than that, and I expect you to treat your compatriots as professionals demanding respect from you. Octavia chewed slowly, methodically. Wish I could demand the same thing. You are a cellist, after all, not some wayward disc jockey that changes music like they change main styles. You've never met vinyl yet, she mumbled again, stabbing the lettuce. I expect to hear back with a report of your attendance at the music studio. Is that clear? Octavia slammed her fork on the plate, and for the first time her mother displayed a face other than bothered disinterest, but to say she was shocked was too dramatic to describe it. What on earth was that, Octavia? She asked softly. Octavia continued to stare at her salad, her breathing rising and falling like a caged animal set to attack. The sight of the dark mare, eyes small and squinted, mane wrapped in a perfect bun, knees off the table, posture straight, dress pressed and clean, teeth whiter than snow, spectacles brassier than a trombone. It made her want to duck her head behind the table. The mare from across the table knew so little, and yet she wielded an invisible power over Octavia that came from years of imposed wisdom. Forgive me, mother, she whispered. Very well, she said, picking up a piece of lettuce and bringing it to her mouth like a ring bearer presents the prized jewelry to the delighted groom. The two mares finished the rest of their meal in complete silence. Octavia's mother rose to her hooves and turned to leave the dining room. I expect to hear a report from you tomorrow after practice no later than my bedtime. It has not changed, you know. As she began to leave, Octavia scooted her chair back and stood. Wait. Octavia's mother froze. How did you know rehearsals were moved to a music studio? She didn't move. What? You heard me. How did you know? Octavia's mother turned, grinning. Don't you know, Octavia? Mothers know all things. Who told you? Octavia repeated, feeling a little strength coming on. Why, your little friend Frederick, of course. I know how much you like him, she replied tauntingly. That disgusting rot pile? What makes you say that? Oh, I know all about your little encounter last night with your special visitor, she said, walking closer to Octavia. He told me all about it. What in the world are you talking about, Mother? That wasn't Frederick. That was... Octavia held her breath. She couldn't reveal who it was that showed up at her apartment last night. She wouldn't dare test the waters of her mother's reactions. Who? Octavia? She asked, walking closer still to Octavia's trembling frame. Who paid you a delightful little visit to your apartment last night? A lover? A pleasure? She ducked her head and whispered in Octavia's ear. A mare? She knew. Octavia's mother pulled back and stared coldly at her daughter. Don't think for a second I don't know what's going on. If you think just because you're out of this house you can frolic with any pony that waltzes into your heart, think again. I will always have my eye on you. She couldn't move. Fear and anger paralyzed her efforts. She couldn't help but feel she were being treated like a disobedient filly that needed a scolding. She could feel every ounce of strength deplete from her body like mist on a hot day. At that moment, Crumpet entered the kitchen. He was startled by Octavia's presence, and she by his. Octavia's mother broke the silence. What have you found out, Crumpet? Oh, he finally said. Well, things aren't looking very good for the master. It seems that he may be on his last legs. Possibly his last week. Octavia gasped. Very well, she replied nonchalantly. You may retire to your other duties. If it pleases you, ma'am,
I would like to speak with the lady, for I will not allow this insolence to reign over this house, she said, raising her voice for the first time. Even the thunder that boomed outside paled with insignificance to a bellowing voice, throwing both the butler and the musician off guard. Go and do as you are told! Yes, ma'am. Excuse me. Crumpet shot Octavia an apologetic frown and hurried down the hall. Octavia's mother turned to her daughter. See what you have brought upon us? What happened to father? Octavia asked, regaining strength. You're in no position to ask me in such a manner. He is my father, and I want to know what is wrong with him. Your father is fine. Now go and ready yourself for tomorrow. I am weary and need my time alone. Not until you tell me what's happened to him, Octavia replied, gritting her teeth. You heard the old bloke, she replied. He's enduring his last moments. That is all you need to know. The grieved daughter remained still as her mother glided across the dining hall towards the door, flicking a hoof before landing it on the brass knob. Why do you hate him so much? The mourning cellist screamed. The tall dark mare turned once more. Why do you hate me so much? She asked, softer shaking tears. A grin spread over the wrinkled face, wider than any Octavia could remember. We are all just products of our experiences. We cannot change who we are, only our decisions. Wouldn't you agree, you heartless robot? And with that, the indifferent mare shut the door, leaving her daughter standing, hurting in the dining room, crying, alone. Octavia allowed Bailey to open the limo door for her. The rain was more than willing to pummel her head with the most rude welcome, but it didn't matter to her. Please, take my umbrella. I wouldn't want you to get home soaking wet. Bailey stuck out his umbrella to her, but she just remained still. Oh, Octavia, darling, I am so sorry about your father. Please accept my sincere sorrows. Bailey placed a hoof on Octavia, which brought her out of her funk and looking up into his old face. The raindrops that pattered all over her grew deathly cold. She couldn't help but shiver slightly. She nodded to Bailey, then started the trip up the stairs to her apartment. As soon as she heard the limo pull out of the parking lot, she looked back. For the first time in her whole life, she saw her chauffeur frown. Hers. Octavia stared at the door from the inside of her apartment. She turned around and scanned every square inch. It brought her anger. This whole apartment is hers. She froze for a minute, replaying the events of the day in her mind. Suddenly, Octavia bucked a dent into her door. Hers! She marched into the kitchen like a wildfire and opened every one of her cabinets. These plates! Hers! Plates, glasses, mugs, and vases crashed into the tiny crystalline pieces all over the kitchen floor. She stepped into a wardrobe and pulled out all of her sweaters, suits, bow ties, and anything else she could find. She stepped into the kitchen, lit a match, and set the fireplace ablaze. Hers! She grabbed every article of clothing and threw them into the fire, one by one, watching as the flames devoured everything with delight. She didn't stop there. Jewelry, picture frames, bed sheets, lamps, dolls, anything. Hers! Every damn thing is hers! I don't want it! I don't want it! In a mere matter of minutes, the once calm and organized single-bedroom apartment became a war zone of broken pieces and lost memories. In the middle of the floor, Octavia sat over a pile of classical music CDs, mint-conditioned and signed by various musicians. She raised a hoof in the air, which happened to grip tightly onto a hammer, and she brought it down with fierce retaliation. Her wrath spread across over the two pieces deemed too big to survive on her emblazoned and fractured mind, and more casualties were added to the pile.
A survey around the room revealed a complete victory of the emptiest kind, that which brought tears of sorrow as opposed to the kind that accompanied joy in winning, which was until she spotted the only object that sat untouched and unharmed, unproven and unchanged. She crept closely to her instrument, careful not to slice her knees on the shards of glass. Sweat trickled down her face, stinging her eyes and wetting her lips, giving her the salty taste of her own unbridled rage. She brought the hammer over her head, aimed directly above the neck of her cello. She hesitated. She sobbed. Yes. She brought her hoof down slowly, and the hammer slipped from her hooves. She let herself fall to the ground, her tears joining the fray. The fire finally rested after gorging on the spoils of her battle. The light of the flames danced in her eyes, burning her tears deep as a reminder of her foolish quest for vengeance. The phone rang. She picked it up and brought it down to her face. Well, howdy, Octavia. How's my favorite patient doing tonight? She hung up. She continued to cry. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? Why am I going? Who am I? And that was Chapter 5 of Octavia Takes the Bus. Saturday practice, Sunday rest. Not exactly what some were expecting now, was it? This was actually told from a narrative point of view rather than a first-person perspective. And it really does shine through as, well, something incredible. The feeling, the power, the passion, and the sadness. My God, the sadness. Was that what any of you were expecting? Did you expect Octavia to just snap like that? Did you expect her home life to be so, well, like that? You can enter it in the comments below or into the chat if you're listening live, if you like. For now, we're going to try and brighten up the mood. Brightening it up with another Koroshi-Ya favorite, Rainbow, but this time the roles are reversed. Feather trying to rap and Koroshi trying to sing like a pretty filly. Here it is on FanFiction Fridays on Oatstralia on Air Live. Rainbow roles reversed.
I'm gonna try to do this. All in one go. It's gonna
Shut up, douchebag, and do it!
I'm alone outside my dreams, and it feels and always seems that there'll never be any reverse promised lights and beams of these hopes of my dreams ever becoming a reality. So all I have to my name is stones that seems in my insanity. But when I close my eyes down to sleep, still waiting, and there's no debating for you. Rainbow, she'll never let me down. She's always been for me and never to ever let me frown. This world of way up high, and then when I gaze into this enchanted eyes, I know it's love while we rule the skies together. So way up above, then snap, I'm awake, just sitting in my room. This place is going darker, as if it were my tomb. Maybe I don't deserve it, maybe it's not the life for me. Different people, remember dashing me.
It's okay, I'm still here. I'll always be your best friend. It's alright, I'm loyalty. I'll be here till the very
She dashed my girl, ripping up on MOP. Got all this memorabilia of her always surrounding me. She's there when I wake up, and there when I go to sleep. On the view from the outside, you think I was a creep. Well, I'm not, no way, this is nothing but love. And I'll sing it to the world all day and to the heavens above. Cause it's feeling in my heart, well I know it's straight up insanity. This is just strong insanity. My god, what's this one? It doesn't fall. I love it. Because no one can ever come close, no one ever can... Oh, fuck that line. That's... Oh. Koroshi. Well, you know, when I said I could sing this song, well, I lied.
It's okay, I'm still here. I'll always be your best friend. It's alright, I'm loyalty. I'll be here till the very end. Come on, let's fly, just you and I. Let's race till we touch the sky. Never let you fall, I was here for it all. And I'm here for you
You seem like
now.
this and quiet, and I'm still Colorado, and the thing that you call out is trying to strain. The lights are going darker, my time is growing near. I'll let her else by, and she never even appeared, but this is life.
Maybe you should stick to singing and I'll stick to rapping, dear.
As my eyes begin to close for the very last time, she had my hand on her shoulder and fed it all to just fine. Well,
There
this
you go.
fucking song is not fine. Oh my god.
Excuse me?
It is not okay.
I picked what?
You were never here.
Fuck you!
Be what?
You wanna fucking go?
When did I ever say you're my best friend?
I thought we were.
No, it's not.
What, really?
You're not fucking loyal.
I'm sorry, okay? I tried. I get it, this is my only song.
Bet you will. Just you laugh at me.
I'm not laughing, I was happy. It was nice that you did this. Thank you, by the way. Thank you, dear.
This guy, oh my god.
What? Really?
Oh, you will let me fall.
No, I won't. I thought that's what friends didn't do. Man, you're a jerk. Jesus.
Yes, you're here for me now. Watch me die. That is the sound of my subs going down because they're like, oh my god, she can't rap and she rap.
It's rainbow related. The subs are gonna go up. It's our only song.
Koroshi-Ya, I can't believe you convinced me to do this.
I turned you into a burning musician. You still can't get over that.
I would be dying. What's that? Oh wait, very soon.
I'll get over it.
Last moments here.
Really? Way to kill the mood.
Dying.
No one is ever gonna take this song
All
seriously
the
again.
dying. Oh, that's it, I'm dead.
Oh, fuck off.
Fuck me.
No, I won't do that. That is disgusting, and you know that. You sick individual. You know what? Fuck this. No, I quit. Game over. Fuck it. No, done. Fuck it. You know what? I'm not even gonna tell you all about WrestleMania.
I'd always forgotten how hilarious that was. That was Rainbow, Roll's reversed version featuring Feather as the rapper and Koroshi-Ya as the spry young filly singing right there. Fantastic work, you two. Oh. Aaron's quite right. It is asking for a remix. Someone out there, remix this, please. If you can find it, it should be on Koroshi's YouTube channel or Feather's YouTube channel. I don't know which one, but go and remix it. Someone do it. Or even Koroshi, do it yourself. I don't know. I was sent in a fan fiction, it seems, and I am compelled to read it. Or not me, specifically, but my friends here, Pegasus, and Announcer Voice, should give this a read. Fellows? Yes? Yes? How would you like to read this? I'm pointing at the screen in case... Well, actually, we don't have a camera, so of course... Are you kidding me? Oh, announcer, this is your story. What? Are you kidding me? This thing? Really? Really? Well, don't look at me like that. You're going first. What? Oh. Okay, fine. How are we going to do this? How about I do the voices and you do the narration? Sound good? Well, all right then. Fine. We'll do it that way. Fellies and gentlecolts,
Welcome to FanFiction Fridays. Myself and Pegasus proudly present this. Welcome to Half-Life, Full-Life Consequences. John Freeman, who is Gordon Freeman's brother, has to do what has to be done and help Gordon Freeman defeat the enemies. In Half-Life, Full-Life Consequences. John Freeman, who was Gordon Freeman's brother, was one day in an office typing on a computer. He got an email from his brother that said that aliens and monsters were attacking his place and asked him for help, so he went. John Freeman got his computer shut down and went to the platform to go up to the roof of the building where he left his motorcycle and normal people close because he was in his office lab coat. John Freeman got on his motorcycle and said, "It's time for me to live up to my family name and face full life consequences." And he so had to go. John Freeman ramped off the building and did a backflip and landed. He kept driving down the road and made sure there were no zombies around because he didn't have a weapon. The countrysides were nice, and the plants were singing, and the birds, and the sun was almost down from the top of the sky. The mood was set for John Freeman's quest to help his brother where he was. John Freeman looked around the countrysides and said, "It is a good day to do what has to be done by me and help my brother to defeat the enemies." John Freeman was late, so he had to drive really fast. The cop car was hidden nearby, so when John Freeman went by, the cops came and wanted to give him a ticket. Here, John Freeman saw the first monster because the cop was possessed and had head crabs. "I can't give you my license, officer," John Freeman said. "Why not?" said the head crab officer back to John Freeman. "Because you are head crab zombie." So John Freeman shot the officer in the head and drove off thinking, "My brother is in trouble here," and went faster. John Freeman had to go faster like the speed of sound and got there fast because Gordon needed him where he was. John Freeman looked at road signs and saw Ravenholm with someone's writing under it saying, "You shouldn't come here." So John Freeman almost turned around, but heard screaming like Gordon, so he went faster again. John Freeman drove in and did another flip and jumped off his bike, and the motorbike took out some head crab zombies in front of John Freeman. John Freeman smiled and walked fast. John Freeman then looked on the ground and found weapon, so he picked it up and fired fast at zombie ghosts in front of the house. John Freeman said, "Zombie ghosts live this place." And the zombie ghost said, "But this is our house." And John Freeman felt sorry for them because he couldn't live there anymore because they were zombie ghosts. So he blew up the house and killed the zombie ghosts, so they were at peace. Then John Freeman heard another scream from his brother, so he kept walking really faster to get where he was. Ravenholm was nothing like the countrysides. There was no bird singing, and the pants were dead, and the dirt was messy and bloody from head crabs. When John Freeman got to where the screaming was started from, he found his brother Gordon Freeman fighting the final boss, and Gordon said, Gordon said, "John Freeman, over here." So John Freeman went there, to where Gordon Freeman was fighting. John Freeman fired his bullet from the gun really fast, and the bullets went and shot the final boss in the eyes, and the final boss couldn't see. Gordon Freeman said, "It's time to end this once and for all," and punched the final boss in the face, and the final boss fell. John Freeman said, "Thanks, I could help, bro." And Gordon Freeman said, "You should come here earlier next time." And they laughed. They laughed over it quickly, though, because John Freeman yelled, "Look out, bro!" and pointed up to the top of the sky. Gordon Freeman looked up and said, "No! John Freeman, run out of here as fast as you can." And John Freeman walked real fast out. John Freeman looked back and saw Gordon get stepped on by the next boss, and he was mad and angry. "I'll get you back, evil boss," John Freeman yelled at the top of his lungs. To be continued? I can't believe we just did that. I can't believe it either. I've seen the original. This was terrible. Why did you send this to us, Koroshi, you terrible, terrible person? Okay, so that was funny. That was sent in to us by Koroshi-Ya, author Squirrel King, and available on fanfiction.net. Not pony related in the least, but okay, fine, we'll read those sorts of things. That's fine, that's okay. Well, since we had ourselves a short story, how about we go to a short song? Really? What song are we going? Oh, it's something that Bloodlust should know all about. Oh, really? Well, what do we have? Oh, are you kidding? Are you kidding you're playing that? It's only a minute long. Fine. Let me announce it at least. Okay. Tuesdays by Koroshi-Ya.
So, my friends who aren't bronies, when I tell them Tuesday is my most favorite day of the week, they look at me in confusion and bedazzled, wondering why is Tuesday your favorite day? Well, 7 p.m. waking up in the evening, gotta be fresh, gotta get on Skype, gotta get my mic and log on at 8, seeing all the club this night is going, freaking nuts, was scaring off all the newbies, gotta get down to the links, gotta click that link, Rule 34, clopping up in my place, clopping up at your place, gotta make our minds up, who should Andrew make porn of? It's Tuesday, gonna get off on Tuesday. Everybody's looking forward to this day of clopping. Tuesday, gonna get off on Tuesday. Everybody's ready to get their clop on. Rule 34, yeah! Lots and lots of porn. Yeah! Fap, looking forward to Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Happy Tuesday.
That was Tuesday by Koroshi-Ya. Something apparently he forgot that he even made. Seems like something that's a bit of a thing that's happening tonight with the playlist. I wonder if I forgot anything else that he's forgotten all about. Nah, I'm fairly sure he knows those. Oh well, that's fine and all. I'm Golden Microphone. We're back on FanFiction Fridays. And so far we've read through 3 stories, one read by Pegasus and announcer voice. Oh boy. For all of you interested, I will attempt to find these on YouTube, but if I can't, well, I'll see if I can hit up Koroshi-Ya for links to SoundCloud or, wherever it is they were. Well, anyway, I think we should probably get on to the next thing. Let's see. I believe... that would be me! Yes, that's right. It's Announcer Voice's time. He is going to go right ahead and read up the new Harpflank and... Well, it's not the new Harpflank and Suites, but it's close enough. Indeed it is. It is Harpflank and Suites. We're up to Season 2, ladies and gentlemen. And we are going to go right ahead and jump ourselves right in. I'm going to go ahead and pop this into the chat. Right now, there we go, and it'll be in the description below very soon. Now let me have a look. Here we go. Season 2, Episode 2, The Good, the Bad, and the Stupid. Justice has been doubled! Though the world has been saved from Nightmare Moon, Metropony remains under threat. With the Empire gone, a new wave of supercriminals has emerged to fill the vacuum of power. How will the Bastion of Harmony fare in an increasingly chaotic world? New friends, new enemies, and new adventures await those stalwart heroes named Harpflank and Suites. Season 2, Episode 2, The Good, the Bad, and the Stupid. Scene 1. Scootaloo tapped her hoof impatiently. each impact kicking up a flurry of autumn leaves from the foot of the tall tree that served as the Cutie Mark Crusaders' meeting place. What's taking her so long? We were supposed to start crusading almost an hour ago. Sweetie Belle shrugged and stopped humming the tune she had been working on in her head. Maybe she's still working. My sister made me help her out today. She's really busy. Scootaloo rolled her eyes. Your sister's always busy. Hey, what does that mean? Just that she should learn to plan her time better, like certain other ponies I could name. Don't you talk about my sister like that. The potential argument was deflated by a strongly accented voice calling loudly across the beautiful scenery of Fluttershy Gardens and causing several relaxing ponies to turn in surprise. I'm here, girls. Sorry I took so long. Applebloom galloped into the shade of the tree, breathing heavily. She greeted her friends in between gasps. Sis had a big shipment. Had to get it all done before she'd let me go. Scootaloo grinned and slapped her on the back, almost toppling the tired filly. No problem, A.B. You're here now, right? Sweetie Belle, after shooting Scootaloo a slightly dirty look for the sudden change of heart, coughed importantly and made her usual announcement. Okay, girls. Today marks Cutie Mark Crusader meeting number something, and today is the day we get our cutie marks. The three simultaneously threw a hoof in the air and gave a cheerful Yay! Sweetie Belle turned to Applebloom. If you would do the honors, don't mind if I do. Glancing about them to make sure no pony was watching, Applebloom reached into an inconspicuous hole in the side of the tree. There was a clunk, and a chunk of trunk slid noiselessly to the side to reveal a gleaming metal cylinder hidden within the hollow tree. The three fillies scrambled in, and Applebloom pressed a button on the wall. The partition slid back into place and returned the tree to its natural-looking state. With a jolt, the elevator zoomed downwards, moving so fast they were very briefly lifted from their hooves. A catchy and tinny tune began to play through the speakers installed above them, but within moments the elevator had reached its destination. The door opened and the Crusaders entered the clubhouse. Scootaloo gave a low whistle. Wow, Applebloom, you really, upgraded this place. Applebloom blushed and traced a circle on the metal floor with her hoof bashfully. Aw, it weren't nothing. Sweetie Belle smiled widely. It's great! You even put up all our old stuff. The brightly lit room they'd entered was enormous, and perhaps the most adorable secret lair ever constructed. Though metal plating formed the curved walls, the cold grey surface was barely visible beneath the layers of colourful drawings, diagrams, and cards that the Crusaders had created during their time together. Blueprints drawn in crayon hung alongside photos of their families, and giant paper hearts covered in gems. Bubbling vats of volatile chemicals stood next to the shelves of textbooks, and the floor was scattered with both half-built weaponry and toys of all kinds. The same tune that had played in the elevator provided a pleasant soundtrack to the mess. Applebloom trotted briskly past her friends to hide her embarrassment, hopping over abandoned projects as she went. Anyways, I think I know what we're going to do today. Her giggling friends followed her to a large metal slab, above which hung a fearsome-looking apparatus, all injectors, blade, and probes. Hopping into the adjustable chairs around it, the three pulled the levers on their seats until they could actually see what lay on the table. Applebloom swept her hoof through the air dramatically. Take a look at this! Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle took in the limp grey form on the slab. There was an awkward pause. Sweetie Belle coughed politely. I, really like her mane? Scootaloo just prodded it, disappointed. It's just a doll. A pretty crummy one, too. Applebloom huffed and retorted. Ain't just a doll. I've been modifying it. Sweetie Belle raised an eyebrow, skeptical as to the doll's efficacy for cutie mark acquisition. So, what does it do? Applebloom drew herself up, placing her hooves on her sides proudly. I'll show you what it does. She leapt from her chair and skipped excitedly to a nearby lever.
She grabbed 2 pairs of tinted goggles that lay discarded amongst the debris and tossed them to her friends, who slipped them on with a hint of trepidation. Scootaloo muttered under her breath, "This better be good." Applebloom wrapped both forelegs around the large lever and pulled with all her might. The hanging machine began to whir, spindly limbs twitching. A bright green light began to shine from the liquid inside its many needles, and as one they plunged down and impaled the lumpen puppet, making Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo recoil in surprise. They soon leaned forward eagerly, however, as the liquid drained into the doll and the needles retracted. To their amazement, it began to twitch, sparks of magic flickering across it as it convulsed before their eyes. Applebloom looked on nervously. After a few moments, the light faded and the doll ceased its movement. The Crusaders leaned even closer. Suddenly, the doll sat up, button eyes peering around the room. The 2 fillies at the table exclaimed in surprise. "Oh, wow! That's awesome! Is it alive?" Applebloom grinned proudly. "Yep. My sister got a hold of some chemical X for me, and I've been doing some experiments. Well, Miss Smartypants here is my first creation." The little grey doll held up her arms and, to the further amazement of Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle, spoke in a squeaky yet surprisingly deep voice. "Smarty Pants can have hugs." Sweetie Belle's face lit up like a fireworks display and she let out an eek of delight, gathering the doll up into a tight embrace. "It's so cute!" Scootaloo stuck out her tongue in disgust. Seriously? She turned to Applebloom, who had returned to the slab looking mildly smug. "So what's the plan?" Applebloom blinked. What?" Scootaloo face-hoofed in frustration. How is this doll—" The toy interrupted her, voice unaffected by Sweetie Belle's squeezing. "Smarty Pants name, not doll. Smarty Pants name Smarty Pants." Sweetie Belle giggled, and Scootaloo glared at her before continuing. "How is Smarty Pants going to help us get our cutie marks?" Applebloom fidgeted guiltily. "I didn't really get that far. I guess bringing her to life was pretty impressive. I got anything yet?" She turned in circles on the spot, craning her neck to check her flank for her adorable abominations against nature cutie mark. Scootaloo gave her a blank look. Then she threw up her hooves. "Great. So we got a talking doll that likes hugs." Smarty Pants spoke again, this time with an odd edge to her voice. "Smarty Pants name not doll. Smarty Pants name Smarty Pants." Sweetie Belle gave her a stern look. "Hey, Smarty Pants, don't be rude. You are a doll after all. It's just like us calling each other ponies." The doll pushed her forelegs aside, leaping from her body to the table and pointing at her accusingly. "Smarty Pants already say. Smarty Pants not doll. Smarty Pants, Smarty Pants." Scootaloo looked down at her with disdain. "Geez, calm down." The doll was hopping in anger now, and faint twinkles of magic were popping in the air around her. "You say sorry. Call Smarty Pants, Smarty Pants." Sweetie Belle held out her hooves placatingly. "Come on, Scootaloo, just apologize." Applebloom was watching Smarty Pants uncertainly. Girls? I think she's getting bigger." Scootaloo sniffed. "Even if she does get bigger, she'll still be just a doll." The little grey pony was definitely growing. Her top half bulged much larger than her legs, all her weight on her forehooves. Sweetie Belle began to back away slightly. Smarty Pants, you're getting a little scary." The doll stood up, beating her chest with her forehooves. "Smarty Pants not scary! Smarty Pants! Smarty Pants!" By now the magic was crackling around her, and she had grown to match the Crusaders in size. They backed away, except Scootaloo, who still had her head turned away to accentuate her dismissal of the doll. "I'm sorry, Applebloom, but I guess this one's a bust. A doll that gets so worked up over a name isn't going to help
She was interrupted by a swipe from Smarty Pants slamming into her side, throwing her across the room. She cried out in pain and leapt to her hooves, pawing the ground in anger. "Hey, what's the big idea?" Smarty Pants, who was by now the size of a full-grown pony, roared. "You mean to Smarty Pants! Smarty Pants hate mean!" She hopped from the slab and placed her forehooves at its foot. She heaved, and the heavy block of metal was lifted into the air before the eyes of the terrified crusaders. Applebloom took a tentative step towards her, voice soothing. "Hey there, Smarty Pants. You don't have to do that now. You just be a good little doll and—" Sweetie Belle tried to interrupt her. "Don't call her a doll!" But it was too late. The monster that was Smarty Pants, 2 ponies high now and with a voice like an avalanche, let out another bellow. "Smarty Pants, not doll! Smarty Pants! Smarty Pants!" With an almighty crash, she hurled the metal slab across the clubhouse, demolishing the elevator door. Before the crusaders could react, she had bounded across the room, shaking the ground with her every step, and clambered out of sight, up the elevator shaft. There was a brief silence, broken only by the rumbles of Smarty Pants' distant ascent and the screams of ponies in the park above. Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo both fixed their gazes on Applebloom. She took in the destruction and gave a small, awkward cough. I may have put in a little too much chemical X. Scene 2. Commander Derpyhooves' door hissed open, and Lyra and Bonbon strolled in. Their superior was hunched over her desk, sighing in dismay at the layers of paperwork that assaulted her daily. The pen in her mouth that should be signing releases and memos had become nothing more than a stress toy, bobbing up and down as she chewed it. Bonbon cleared her throat politely, and Derpy jumped, dropping the pen and hurriedly wiping at the blue stain that had seeped into her lips. Lyra chuckled at the commander's lack of decorum, relishing every chance she had to bring Derpy down to her own unprofessional level. Glaring at her, Derpy saluted them primly. As usual, Bonbon returned it smartly, while Lyra waved her hoof vaguely upwards. With the formality over with, Derpy slumped back to her desk again. Since their adventure on the moon, the relationship between the bearers of the elements of harmony had become a lot more relaxed, their shared experiences and magical connection forging a bond beyond ranks and protocol. Derpyhooves was no longer just their commander, she was their friend and more. She moaned pitifully. "Oh, when did things get so complicated?" The 2 heroes settled into their usual chairs, and Bonbon leaned forward questioningly. "What's the situation, Commander?" Derpy pulled herself up and rubbed her eyes. She then waved her hoof at the piles of papers scattered about her office, which seemed taller and more menacing than usual. "Ugh, going public was the worst thing that had ever happened to this organization. When every pony thought you 2 were free agents, we could just square any damage with the government under the table. They made sure everyone was compensated. We threw money at the rebuild to speed it along, and every pony was happy." Even Lyra felt a pang of sympathy at the exhaustion evident in her beleaguered Pegasus' face. The past few weeks had been hard for every pony and mare. Through some miracle of deception, the organization as a whole had been able to remain secret during its battles with the Lunar Empire, the seemingly unlimited funds at Derpy's disposal, and the backing of Celestia's government, keeping the populace at large under the impression that Harpflank and Sweets were nothing more than a pair of bizarrely well-equipped superheroes. There had been naysayers, of course, those who had decried them as destructive vigilantes, but public opinion was firmly on their side. Trixie's Lunatrons had been so powerful, so ridiculously advanced, any pony could see that if it weren't for Harpflank and Sweets, the city would have been Luna's years ago. But Nightmare Moon's assault on Celestia Tower had necessitated both full mobilization of Mare's Armed Division and the deployment of the Avenger Z, their specialized anti-Lunatron super robot. And with nothing more than a series of cataclysmic explosions and the violent annihilation of a robot army, the secret was out. Suddenly, the word on every pony's lips was accountability. The fact that large-scale destruction had been casually authorized by a clandestine, government-sanctioned organization had caused something of an uproar. Opinion polls had placed public feeling toward the newly revealed mayor firmly in the middle ground. Gratitude for their services to the city balanced by the, as one tactful journalist had put it, somewhat lax attitude towards property damage the group had displayed. And so it had begun. New rules, new procedures, new problems. In the space of a single battle, Derpy's responsibilities had grown exponentially, with public relations, retraining, and the creation of a full backlog of Mayor's activities being added to the already considerable duties of running a combined private army/research and development lab/space program. The ponies under her command had fared no better. Every member below a certain rank had been made to reveal their identity, causing many trouble in their lives at home as betrayed friends and family turned their backs. X-Tech was, to Vinyl Scratch and Octavia's consternation, operating under far stricter safety guidelines and had taken a few hard knocks to the budget. Even Nurse Redheart was feeling the strain as her infirmary's bleeding-edge technology came under the scrutiny of the greater medical community. Lyra and Bonbon had so far escaped relatively unscathed, having had only to give a few press conferences as Harpflank and Sweets as to the nature of Mayor and their reasons for secrecy. Despite their being the public face of Equestria's best-kept secret for years, they were far too popular to take much of a beating from the whole fiasco. So they had just kept on living their lives, staying prepared for whatever may come, and supporting the rest of Mayor as best they could. The look on Derpy's face made it all too clear that this was about to change. She sighed and rummaged through the papers in front of her, finally pulling a thick binder from the rustling mountains. She slid it across her desk towards them. Just the first page. Lyra flipped the binder open and skimmed the text. Her eyes widened. What? Bonbon craned her neck to see, and after a few moments let out a similar exclamation. The paper was emblazoned with the insignia of both Mayor and the Metropony Police Department. An impressive title/subtitle combo took up most of the page, reading, Operation Double Justice, being a collaboration between the Metropony Police Department and Mayor, with the ultimate goal of the effective merging of both organizations. Bonbon shook her head in disbelief. A merger? But that's insane! It'll never work. We operate on entirely different levels. How did this even begin to get past the princesses? Derpy pulled the binder back to her side of the desk, slamming it closed and shoving it back under the piles of forms, as if hoping to forget about it. She spoke firmly before Bonbon or the still sputtering Lyra could say any more. Actually, the merger's a big nothing. That's just something I let them think they're getting to cut us some slack. It'll never happen. I just wanted to make sure you knew how seriously the government is taking this whole thing. The collaboration, however... Lyra stopped her mumbling and gave Derpy a suspicious look. Wait, what are you making us do? Derpy gave her a pained smile. I'm sorry, girls, but you're getting a new team member. Bonbon's eyebrow raised. A new? How is that even going to work? We have superpowers. The only ponies who can keep up with us are you and the other bearers. Derpy gave a small chuckle. Yes, I brought that up at the meeting. Your MPD liaison will be acting in more of an advisory capacity. She'll follow you around, keep an eye on you, and make sure you're conforming to all these new rules. The MPD teaches us some restraint, and Mayor gets to show the MPD we're not the crazies every pony thinks we are. That's the idea, anyway. So you're to report to the police commissioner ASAP. It shouldn't be too bad, she's an old friend. Bonbon reluctantly nodded, seeing the wisdom behind the decision. If the proposal had gone through in the first place, it had the princess's seal of approval, no doubt with a sly wink from Celestia.
Luna had insisted on maintaining contact with the bearers, and her letters painted a very different picture of the Sun Princess than any pony had suspected. Still, if it was good enough for them, it was good enough for Bonbon. Lyra, meanwhile, was sitting in her customary position in her chair, forelegs folded sullenly. I still don't like it. Derpy sighed again, saluting and picking up her pen while motioning them to leave. Voice muffled as she clenched her arch-nemesis in her teeth. Unfortunately, you don't have to. Scene 3. So, Harpflank and Sweets. We meet at last. The Metropony Police Commissioner, Carrot Top, eyed them across her immaculate desk. Her office was the polar opposite of Derpy's. Polished wooden surfaces sharply contrasted the grey metal of Mayor HQ, and the room was scrupulously ordered. Tall filing cabinets creaked under the weight of the papers within. The floor was clear and dustless, and even the glass on the diplomas hanging on the walls gleamed. Lyra and Bonbon sat in plush chairs before the desk awkwardly. Bonbon's expression was carefully neutral, while Lyra's was almost outright hostile. Their brief journey through the MPD HQ to Carrot Top's office had been accompanied by whispers and pointing hooves, many officers making their distrust of the heroes clear, though several had given small cheers before being hushed by their colleagues. More than once Bonbon had to place a restraining hoof on Lyra's shoulder as her partner glared at the staring ponies, chiding her quietly for reinforcing their beliefs. They think we're dangerous. Let's not prove them right. But here they were, face to face with Metropony's official head of law enforcement. The yellow earth pony continued to appraise them, her gaze peeking out from her voluminous orange mane and seeming to pierce their very souls. Both Lyra and Bonbon felt guilt rising in them. Carrot Top's eyes seemingly able to drag everything from minor childhood indiscretions to citywide calamities into the light with nothing but a look. Then, to their great surprise, she smiled warmly. Truly, it's an honor. Lyra's scowl collapsed, replaced by abject confusion. Carrot Top continued, chuckling at Lyra's reaction. I'm sorry, were you expecting a gruff, cigar-smoking stallion to cheer you out and threaten to kick you out of the city? No, I'm not that stupid. I understand that everything you've done it for the city, and for the ponies that live in it, and I respect you for that. Omelets and eggs and all that. Lyra, still wary, replied cautiously. Thanks? The commissioner's expression hardened slightly, but remained friendly. However, that doesn't mean I don't think you need reining in. You haven't been breaking eggs, you've been breaking buildings. She held up a hoof as Bonbon moved to speak. I understand that you were battling the Empire, and that it was way over our heads. But any pony who claims to defend the city has a duty to its citizens, a duty which, in my opinion, Mayor has not fulfilled. She steepled her hooves and leaned forward, punctuating her next words. Me, you, Mayor, the MPD. We all fight for the same reason, so the public can go about their lives as normal. And, forgive me for saying, but 100-meter tall robots having a wrestling match in Celestia Plaza tends to disrupt the flow. Bonbon and Lyra were silent, the commissioner's words cutting deeper than they'd ever thought they could. Her expression lightened once more, and she leaned back in her chair. Now, the MPD isn't just equipped to deal with the kind of threats Mayor deals with, and, though I would never say this within earshot of any of my officers, we need an organization on the edge of the law like yours. But all the crazy needs to stop, and that's what this whole thing is about. She waited for the two heroes to digest what she'd just said, then moved to return to her work. Now, go do whatever it is you do. Copper will meet you outside. Lyra, having stood to leave with Bonbon, halted. Copper? Carrot Top looked up from her computer, giving Lyra an isn't it obvious look. Your new partner.
Scene 4. Stepping out from the imposing MPD HQ, Lyra and Bonbon considered their meeting. That feels like it went better than expected. Lyra nodded at Bonbon's assertion. Yeah, I thought we were going to get totally busted, but she seemed pretty cool about the whole thing. Hey, where do you think she knows the commander from? Before Bonbon could reply, an eager voice directly behind them made them jump. Halflife? Sweets? Turning, the heroes were greeted by the sight of a young mare. Her coat was a rich reddish orange that matched the gleaming MPD badge pinned to a pristine uniform. Similarly, the light verdigris of her ponytailed mane matched her cutie mark, a pair of scales, perfectly. She gave them a textbook mare salute, which Lyra and Bonbon returned without thinking. Oh, I'm so glad I got it right. I was reading up on your procedures and I figured I could get off to a good start if I greeted you mare style. The mare suddenly gasped. Oh, I'm Copper. Named for my color, not my job. Ha ha. You won't believe how many times I've heard that one. I'm your new partner. She smiled widely, as if they were already the best of friends. Lyra raised an eyebrow, unconvinced. So you're the one who's supposed to keep us under control? You seem a little enthusiastic for that. Copper shook her head vigorously. Oh, don't worry. I fully intend to do my job. I'm to keep a careful log of your activities and, should a situation arise, advise you on what the MPD considers the best way to proceed in order to stay within the bounds of Metropony law and minimize damage to the surrounding area. As she spoke, her voice took on a hint of a sing-song quality, as if she had practiced these words many times. Her expression, however, made it clear how seriously she took her orders. Bonbon proffered a hoof, and Copper gladly shook it. Nice to meet you, Copper. I look forward to working with you. Makes one of us I get... Ow! Makes one of us I get... Ow! Lyra's muttering was interrupted, as usual, by a kick from Bonbon that seemed automatic. Copper giggled. The little police mare seemed at odds with herself, her warm personality battling with the dedication of her job. Her ponytail, for example, Bonbon knew was against regulations, but was also well kept and tucked neatly into a uniform. Her actions were professional, but breathtakingly energetic. It would be interesting to see how this partnership played out. At that moment, a familiar sound chirped insistently from Bonbon's bag. Lyra stopped nursing her leg immediately and turned to face the communicator as Bonbon pulled it free. Copper just watched, obviously having been briefed on the communications methods earlier. The beeping stopped and Derpy's voice replaced it. Lyra, Bonbon, do you read? Bonbon face-hoofed. The day that Derpy didn't give away classified information, like their names, without a thought, was the day Bonbon would consider the city saved for good. Yes, Commander, and so does our new partner. Copper piped up brightly, waving at the communicator. Hello! There was a brief moment of silence. Yes, well, she's, cleared for that information anyway. Bonbon could have sworn she heard Derpy mutter, she is now, anyway, but let it slip for expediency's sake. What's up, Commander? Derpy cleared her throat, and her authoritative tone returned. Just checking in. How did you find Carrot Top? Bonbon frowned as Lyra made blah 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 faces. She seemed supportive, Commander. I see what you meant when you said this might not be a bad thing. Derpy sighed with relief. I was hoping you'd say that. I can never work out what that mare is thinking. Ever since the old days and... Hold on, I'm getting something from Vinyl. As Derpy went silent, Bonbon explained Vinyl's position in X-Tech to Copper, who absorbed the information eagerly while Lyra rolled her eyes. The communicator buzzed again and Derpy's voice returned, this time with urgency. Looks like you three will be working together sooner than we thought. We've got a disturbance downtown, and it's big. The MPD should be picking it up too. Sure enough, there was a noticeable bustle around them. Sirens wailed and ponies barked orders as the well-oiled machine that was the Metro Pony Police Department swung into action. Sending you coordinates now. Eyewitness reports seem to indicate some kind of monster. Well, good luck. Lyra grinned at Copper. See you there, partner. With that, she galloped away at top speed, leaving Bonbon to stamp her foot in frustration at her friend's childishness. Copper looked torn between disapproval at Lyra's actions and panic at the sudden situation. She just ran off! How are we supposed to coordinate if... Bonbon interrupted her kindly but bluntly. Sorry, but there's no time for this. Hold on tight. Before Copper could react, Bonbon had effortlessly slipped underneath her and lifted her into the air. With a blur and a swiftly disappearing shriek of surprise, they were gone. Scene 5. Actually, given that it is 11 o'clock... Oh, come on! How much more is there? Let's see. Just rolling through... Oh, wow, that is a lot. Maybe we will finish next time. Indeed. We're up to Scene 5 of the second episode of Harpflank and Sweets Season 2. We will continue with that next week. As it is 11 p.m., it is now time for us to go. Ah, time really did fly this week, didn't it? It did. It really did. And we got ourselves a lovely audience tonight, and a lot of great music going through as well. What do you think we should end this with? Well, if you were to ask me, which I certainly hope you were, I'd say this one. What? Really? No, I'd say this one. What about this one? Huh. Isn't that the one that everyone knows? Well, not everyone knows it, but it's one of my favorites. Well, I suppose you can have the favorite this time. Seriously, though, you should play this one. No. Just let him have it. Let him have this. All right, then. From every pony here at Oatstralia on Air, this has been FanFiction Fridays. I'm Golden Microphone. Pegasus, what are you doing? Stop that. Stop. You're supposed to be the one on the mic. I'm coming. No, he messed it up again. Yeah, he did. I'm here. Okay. Can we try that again? Yes. From everyone here at Oatstralia on Air, I'm Golden Microphone. I'm Pegasus. And I'm Announcer Voice. And we'd like to say goodnight to you from FanFiction Fridays with this. Everyone Get Feeling Good, featuring Rhyme Flow by Koroshi-Ya. Good night, every pony.
Check 1, 2. Yeah, I feel good. When I got my bronies around, it's hard to frown when you got equine love and sound. We hitting up the malls, MLP, EQD, and even that's not enough to quench this happiness inside of me. Before I found this fandom, everything seemed so benign. Was a struggle every day to find a way to span time. Everything seemed so redundant, was a dead-end routine. And now I'm rocking it up in this badass scene. Writing songs every day for the family. How about my biggest inspiration, known as MLP? Yeah, we got them brony haters, but they never get to me, because we gotta love and tolerate and gotta help them see. If I ever feel sad, Pinkie Pie's got me set, and Rainbow Dashes that'll cheer me up in 10 seconds flat. Be it music, art, fanfics, or anything, when you're a brony, it's all magic, so everybody sing! And nothing's gonna bring me down, so everybody lock down and hound on this wicked town. Bros to everybody in this fandom and all my homies, so come on and sing! And nothing's gonna bring me down, so everybody lock down and hound on this wicked sound. Yeah, I feel good, so come on!
How do I convey these thoughts on the paper? How do I condense emotion? The vapor. It's safe to say that my current status as a rapper has never met with piss derision of fits and laughter. As a matter of fact, the path was lit with kind words, and like a bite of life's hurt, stings of blind slurs, and they strengthen my nerves, reflecting my verse. And things at time turn to think my mind yearns to sing. It feels good like Celestia at sunrise, and sometimes like Pinky Mackin' on some pies. I won't lie, we grown men watching kid shows. We young at hearts, never letting that kid grow. It did though, show bronies as individuals through audio with visual mediums as a ritual. Its initial stages, the haters claimed it was fading, but breaking 2013, we made it amazing now. And nothing's gonna bring me down, so everybody lock down and hound on this wicked sound.
Throw who to everybody in this fandom and all my homies to come on and sing. And nothing's gonna bring me down, so everybody lock down and hound on this wicked sound. Yeah, I feel good, so come on. Yeah, I feel good.
We promised a special announcement, and there is a very special announcement. We have ourselves a new segment coming up next week on FanFiction Fridays. It's the Let's Read. What it is that we will get you, the listener, in on a Skype call to write a fanfiction right there, on air. You will be given a 5-minute time limit. What you do is that you're given a pony. Any of the ponies. Could be a main character, could be a background character, heck, could be a villain that isn't actually a pony, Discord for example, and an idea to go with that pony. It can be plucked out of anywhere, and you are to start writing. Do not stop writing, just continue to type non-stop until the 5-minute time limit. Once that time limit is up, your story will be read on air for everyone to hear. How fantastic is that? But that's not the best part. The best part is that all listeners who are in on the call, as well as listening in on the radio, will get a chance to vote for the best story read out on the night. Whoever wins this gets a very special prize from the one and only me. Golden microphone. What is this prize? Well, guess what I have in my hands right at this moment in time? It is a collectible tin that happens to come from the Mr. Munchie's selection of various delicious goodies. It's, well, listen to this. Very solid, very tinny. Has all of the main sticks on the front, and if you listen very carefully, is in fact full of Mr. Munchie's biscuits. Delicious. The best story on the night gets this collector's tin and all the biscuits inside of it sent to them free of charge. It's all theirs. Fantastic stuff. All you have to do is come in next Friday to a call that I will be hosting on the Skype name DJMAR3. No spaces, no hyphens or anything like that. Just DJMAR3. Add that to your Skypes and be ready next week for the fanfiction story competition of your life. Let's Read Live. Another one is that PonyCon AU, well, guess what? PonyCon AU has just revealed that they now have an actual special guest who works on the show. MLP animator and layout artist Holly Giesbrecht. I'm actually not sure how to say that last name, but Holly will be attending PonyCon AU 2013. That's right. Check out ponyconau.com for more information on that, and thank yourselves for getting yourselves a ticket. Unfortunately, the cheap tickets have finished. It is now the 1st of February. Today is the 1st of February. That was the cutoff for the cheap tickets. All tickets are now at full price. Sorry if you haven't gotten yours yet, but come on. We've got Holly coming along. This is fantastic. This is good news. And with that, good night, every pony. Thank you for listening. And we hope to see you next week for the competition.